It's not working because I've got this really cheap thing here that keeps losing grip. Cheap and cheerful, keep it simple bodge, but still here where you can get to it. That isn't screwed on, by the way, just so you know. Give that a squeeze. Try not to let it jump off there. And it's a bit like a tap with water flowing through it. The more of the bigger the part. Oh, this is rubbish. Hello, welcome to Rusty Bottom Workshop. Today we're going to do some more van shenanigans. If you want to use one of these, you're going to have to fit one of these. So this video, I hope to show you my way of hooking up your VW van, or any van for that matter, to have mains hookup facility if you're going camping. There's no drilling holes, there's no removing bumpers, there's no fitting, there's no expensive 3D printed stuff. It's a typical Rusty Bottom Workshop, cheap and cheerful, keep it simple bodge. You're going to need the actual flush fit connector that fits onto the van. You're going to need some main sockets. I bought two of these. They've also got USB in the middle. You'll need some Arctic mains cable, which is slightly heavier grade cable. Don't really need that inside the van, I would say, but I bought some anyway for an extension lead, so I thought I might as well just make use of it. And a little consumer unit. I've just got two there because I'm not going to be doing much. My idea is to place the consumer unit kind of on this side of the van. So I'm going to have my hook up around here. The cable's going to be running up through there behind the light. There's a cable grommet connector in there for the lights anyway. I'm going to utilise that. And the cable's going to come through from behind there and into the back of this. Now, it's going to fall apart just like that. I'm also, excuse the noise, I'm also doing solar on the roof, so I'm actually built a little platform here where the leisure battery's going to go, and this is going to be underneath it, kind of tucked away onto the way, but still here where you can get to it. That isn't screwed on, by the way, just so you know. And that's the idea, so let's see how we get on. So what's a riv nut, I hear you ask? Well, it's one of these. I don't know if you can see that. It's just a nut, like a standard hex nut, but they've put it inside a shell with serrated edges. I'm not sure if you can see that. And generally what happens is you use something like a tool like this that attaches to an electric drill. You screw that into there, into the thread, which happens to be M6, which is 6mm diameter in this case. You put this into the metal enclosure, whatever it is you're fitting it. Normally you fit these into places you can't get easily enough to, and you just want to bolt something to it. You attach this end to an electric drill, this spins round, it pulls this against the drill and squashes it into place. So you can see those serrated edges there are a weak part of this, and it basically squeezes it in, fills the void, and then this is actually locked into position. So this is a handy little device. It's pretty good actually, and I've used this lots of times. I like riv nuts, they're really useful. I try and use stainless steel ones for obvious reasons, for external use so they don't rust. But we're going to need this to fit the mount on the van, so that's the reason I'm mentioning them. The only issue is this is quite big, and because the location is just over the toe ring at the back of the van, this won't fit. So we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way, where you get a bolt that's the same diameter as this, so M6 in this case. You get a standard hex nut, you screw that on, you put one washer, two washers on, and then you screw this into here, making sure you've got enough thread to go into the back of the riv nut, so you can see it there. And then what you do is you put a spanner or socket on this end and keep this steady, and then you put another one on this and you turn that, and as you're turning it, it pulls this against it and then squashes this the same way it would do with this, and that's what we're going to do, hopefully. So I've changed things slightly, and I've got a longer bolt. This one's 60mm, the other one was too short and everything was getting in the way, so I've got my socket to hold this, and I've got a ratchet spanner so I can turn this. So I'm just going to put it into the hole, and fingers crossed it should work. Okay, so things weren't going quite well, so I realised I had to put some extra washers here to lift this up so I can do this a little bit easier because everything's in the way. So what I'm doing is I'm tightening the knot, I'm holding this steady against the hole, and I'm using this spanner, ratchet spanner, to tighten that. Try again with a longer spanner, and I'll try to slip it in the camera. I'll move that back a bit. There we go. Oh, that was a bit of a faff, wasn't it? But there's our riv nut. Right, so there's the riv nut. It's in nice and tight. Exactly where I wanted it. I chose a stainless steel one as well, because I don't want it to rust. I'm going to squirt some wax oil inside that chamber as well before I put everything on. So there you go. What a pain in the bum. The most common type of hookup is this kind of connector, where you bolt it onto something and then you just lift that up and that's all fine, which is good. And I bought one of these thinking I could do that, not realising there isn't really anywhere on the transporter I can do that without it, well, being obviously present, because it's a bright blue colour for a start, and it's quite prominent. And without doing things like taking bumpers off, messing around with other stuff, I just thought it's a lot of work. I don't really want to do that, plus I'm a bit averse to drilling holes in my cars. So the other type of connector is this one, which is a trailing one. Again, same kind of thing, but it's it's a trailing one. It's a connector, so you don't have the additional fitment. So that's good. But the problem with these, other than being a bit cheapo plastic, is, see that there's no seal, it's just a plastic clip, and water's going to get in there. Plus again, it's electric blue and really stands out, which I didn't want. I want a stealth kind of van, so I invested in one of these, which is from a company called JCE, and I mean, already you can tell you this is a trailing one as well, like this one. The quality on this is absolutely 500 times better than this one, but and it isn't that much more expensive. But the good thing about this is, again, is a trailing one. Ignore the fitment, that's for later on. Is you have to unscrew it and you lift it up as normal. But look, there's a rubber seal there, so when you close it and it locks, it's watertight. That's exactly what I wanted. Plus it's black and supple, and the idea is to put it underneath the van. the issue I had is how to put it underneath the van without taking the bumper off. Now mine's a Highline van, so all the bumpers are colour coordinated to the van, and it's gloss black metallic. Knowing my luck, if I try and take the bumper off, it's always going to get scratched, the paint's going to flake off, whatever, and I just think I'm hassle, to be honest. Not that I'm lazy, I just think there's no point in doing something like that. It's going to take all that effort just to stick one of these on underneath, and unfortunately you have to do something like that to put one of these on, or you end up drilling it further on under the wheel arch where all the mud and everything's going to get slung on it. And again, I don't think this is waterproof, so I've gone with this, and I'm just going really simple, you know, Rusty Bottom Workshop bodge. I've just got a stainless steel hose clip there, Jubilee clip. Just got a bracket I had in the garage, a job lot of brackets. This is quite a decent one, and I'm literally just going to bolt this to the underside of that riv nut that I've just spent half an hour trying to fit. Run the cable up there and through the light inside, and job done. Now I've managed to fit the riv nut in there. Just very simply, there's a hole there. So it just happens to be the right size to put that in there. I'm just going to bolt that to that. That's going to hold on to there. To give you an idea, basically that's all you're going to see. It's going to be a bit more subtle. Plus, the cable runs up there, into there, and through the light and inside, so that's the plan. And you're away from the exhaust, you're away from all the mud getting splashed up there. I might put a little bit of rubber flap or something here just to give it extra protection, but I mean it doesn't need it in terms of being waterproof. And just wax oil everything nearby, and that's the plan. So fingers crossed that will work out. Right, it's time for some wiring. If you've ever managed to wire a 3-pin plug, as we have here in the UK, or the equivalent plug in your country, you'll know it's really not difficult at all. It's normally just 3 wires, a live, a neutral and an earth. So you can do one of them, you can do one of these, or one of these. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to wire up one of these with this cable, which is called Arctic Flex cable. It's just a normal mains cable, they've just put it in a blue insulator, but it's supposed to be a bit heavier duty for outside wear, so basically waterproof, a bit more durable. Anyway, you can buy this cheap enough online, eBay, Amazon, wherever, usual suspects. Now these connectors, these plugs, they're all kind of very similar. So as I was shown earlier, this one opens up and it's got a seal in it, which is what I wanted. And this type, because it's a trailing one, you just twist and it comes apart. And there you can see the 3 connectors inside where we're going to do the wiring. Some of the other ones, like this one for example, you need to take these 4 screws off. But inside should be the same. Just check it. Inside should be the same. You're going to have your 3 connectors, live, earth and neutral, like anyone else, like all the other ones. So there you are, that's what it looks like inside. If I compare it to this one, it should be the same. The one at the bottom with the little cutout is always earth. So it's that one there. Usually the fatter one, shall we say. And that's just a grommet putting the cable through there to keep it watertight. And this type, it's got 2 little screws inside there. and you undo them, and that's how this one comes apart. Again, this is a trailing connector, it's not a flush fit panel mount one like the other one is. Oh, I'm not going to bother with that one. Anyway, but it's the same inside as these. So I'm going to leave that one. It's a bit cheap and nasty. Handy as a spare. Right, so if you refer to my diagram that I showed earlier on, you'll see that the one at the bottom is Earth, and then you've got live and neutral. Now, to find out which one's which, there is normally, I don't know if you can see on camera there, probably not. There's normally a mark on this one that's got L on this side. L is live, so you've got live, Earth, and the other one must be neutral because you're only going to have 3, live, neutral and Earth. Depending on the manufacturer and supplier, although I think all the colours should be fairly standard now, I'm just going to take some of this off. It really is hard insulation cable. Oh, that is quite tough. Impressed with that. Okay, so there are the 3 colours. Blue is neutral, green and yellow is Earth, and brown in this case is live. You can just trim the insulation off the ends and pop it into here and that's fine, but what I would recommend is getting yourself some of these crimps, these crimping connectors. I bought this a few years ago, one of the best things I did. You get like, comes as a set usually, again all different types of sizes. Ignore the colours, I don't think colours mean anything other than what size they are. And just use this crimping tool, it just makes the job a lot easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a bit of the insulation off the actual wire, and we're going to put this over the top, crimp it on so it's a good connection, and then when you screw it into here you get a very good solid connection. There's no frayed wires, no wires sticking out or anything, it'll keep it going there for a while. Plus you've got this insulation at the end which just seals it off nicely, so that's what I'm going to do now. So again, try not to cut my fingers, I'm just going to take a little bit off that, pull a bit off, and I'm going to put one of these on. Now my classic trick is to forget to put this on first, but it doesn't matter in this case because I'm going to be cutting the other end of the cable later on. So for this, just for this once, even though I always forget to do this, I'm not going to put the cable through the end first, but as long as I remember to do that before I fit it to the van. So I'm going to give that a bit of a twist. Put these on now. Roughly, I've chosen one that's roughly the size of that cable there. So the cable's getting trapped to my leg. Pop that on there. Push it right down so it can't go any further. Pop this over the top. Squeeze. Let go. And there you are. That's a good solid connection. You can see that. And we'll just repeat for the other 2. Before I do, I'm just going to check there's definitely enough wire length for me there. Yeah, that one is. Maybe the other 2, actually I think I'm going to give a little bit longer for the other 2 because these are a bit further down, so I'm just going to trim a bit more off. Alright, so I've just trimmed a little bit more of the insulation off. I had to cut it down the other side as well just to get the thing off. And I'm just going to repeat what I did with the other one, so trim a bit of that. Should really use a wire stripper, but I've never managed to use those very well, so I'll just cut it with a knife. So again, do that. Make sure that's pushed all the way down. See the wire. Give that a squeeze. Try not to let it jump off there. And repeat for this one. Right, so now we've got 3 that are connected. I'm going to push that down a little bit too far, but anyway, never mind. Right, so that says live, which is that one. So I'm going to put the brown wire into that one. Make sure it's pushed right to the bottom. Just loosen that a little bit, make sure that's loose. Yeah, that goes right the way down. And then tighten it up. Right, the next one, the one at the bottom is earth, which is the yellow and green. So we can pop that in. Push down. And tighten that up. That one's actually got 2 screws in there, because normally you'd have like a if you had to put more in there, a longer one. And then the final one must be neutral, which is the blue one. So I'm just going to pop that one in. All the way down, if it goes in. Is it going in? Kind of wants to, I think that needs to be loosened a bit. Yeah. Loosen that. But that's it. That's all it was. Obviously you put this on as well. Make sure you don't forget that. And that is your mains hookup. I've wired this up. Remember to put the cover back on. Make sure it's nice and tight and waterproof. There's no water can get in there. I've refitted the Jubilee clip and the bracket, although it's just loose for now because I'm going to adjust that depending how it fits in at the back. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is take this light unit off. So it's just a Phillips head screwdriver, and there are 2 screws here. They're magnetic, make sure you don't lose them. Keep somewhere safe. This is also the process you would use if you needed to change a light bulb in the back. There's always one that wants to stick. There we go. Let's take it out, you just push it out that way. There we go. These are just these 2 lugs there that fit into there, and that's what you need to do. Now the other thing is this, which is really annoying. You're supposed to push that down and pull out. It's always stiff. It's always something. Try not to break it. Okay, so that's come out. So there's your lamp unit. If you need to take the bulbs out, this back section unclips by pushing these tabs in and the whole thing comes out. But anyway, back to one side. So as you can see, that's the wiring loom that's already there, and that goes right into the body at the back there. And what we intend to do, you can see down there, there's a hole at the bottom, and I'll be able to run the cable right through this bit, under the bumper and up to the back. There's no need to take this off, I don't even want to take that off. It's just no need for it at all. The plan is to have a little hole in the middle there and run the cable into there. Now I've had a check, I've looked at this, and there's plenty of space here to run another cable through. It's not going to catch on the back of the light, there's plenty of room. So let's get the cable in first of all. All I've got, I didn't have any rope, but I've just got a bit of this old wire. I'm just going to drop this down the hole. Make sure this doesn't fall down. Right. So that's going there. That's the inside of the wire. Right, so I'm just going to tighten this up now. I've got my 10mm spanner. Sockets that even. Make sure that's nice and tight, there you go. And that is really secure enough for me to still open that and put everything in. Now I might have to tweak that a bit, maybe loosen it and twist it around a little bit. I'll have a play with that later, but in the meantime, if you look at the back of the van, it doesn't really stand out, does it? You can't really tell us anything there, which is the whole plan. Right, next thing, let's get the wire attached to this with some tape, and I can pull it through up there. I'm going to attach that to there, and we're just going to pull this through. And hopefully it will come through. There we go. And that's the cable now. Hopefully we've got enough slack. Next thing, is I'll have to strap it inside here so it doesn't wobble around. We'll do that in a bit. Right, so I've pulled the grommet out, the original grommet for the lights at the back, and it's a bit soft. I originally was going to run this cable through there and put another grommet inside. I might still do that, and then put a bit of sealant around it as well, but let's see how we get on. So roughly we need to know how big it is. It goes like that. I'm going to have it kind of going this way, so let's just have a little mark up. I was going to use a punch, but probably don't need to. I'm just going to cut a hole in that and hopefully not cut my finger. Actually this is tougher than I realised, so maybe I can use the grommet. I'll show you what I mean once I cut through this. This is really tough. Good old VW. You won't get this level of quality on a new Ford Transit T7, would you? Maybe I should have used a punch after all. Still not great. I'm going to have to use some scissors to just take that out a little bit more. I mean, just an idea. Instead of messing about with grommets, why don't I just try and push that through there? Like so. Sometimes the hard jobs are easy, aren't they? If you just use your brain a little bit. That's something I'm not great at sometimes. That was even simpler than I thought. Push that back in. I'm going to put a bit of sealant around that, but I'll do that at the end when I'm happy everything's back together. Oh, that was a bit easier, wasn't it? Just as a bit extra protection, I just had a bit of this old silicone hose. I just cut a bit off, sliced it down the middle, dropped it down the wire. I don't know if you can see. It's just to stop it from catching on that bit of plastic at the end. The most important thing though is not to block that hole or any of this, because when it rains down here it absolutely lashes it down and it'll go down there, and you don't want that getting blocked because you'll end up rusting something out. Cable tied it to that little mount. What I didn't realise is actually a cable size thing. I could have run the cable behind it, but never mind. So that's where it goes up to there and up to the light. Okay, one last thing to do before I put the light back. Get some sealant on there. Just make sure it's watertight. Doesn't have to look pretty, no one's ever going to see this. I mean, it's not like anyone watches my YouTube channel or anything, is it? That's enough, we'll let that dry for a bit. Now let's put the light back in. So first thing, this only clips in one way, so see it when it's upside down. There you go. Oh yeah, just push that on. Here it clip. Here it clip. Put that on there. Slide it in. There we go. It screws back in. This is ready for the next stage when we consume. Otherwise, that's it. And all you see from behind is not a lot really, thank goodness. Now that you've managed to wire one of these commando sockets, which was straightforward, you can also wire up that consumer unit as well for your van. Again, 3 wires, straightforward. I've put up a wiring diagram in colour and there's some detailed information on there for you, so you can pause the video and use that as a reference. I will say, if you're not comfortable doing any of this wiring, then please don't. I'm not an electrician, I'm not a qualified electrician, I'm not qualified anything to be honest, but I've been wiring stuff since I was, well, I'm not going to say how young, because we didn't have the internet in them days, so we had to find ways to play when you're a kid. But let's just say, I used to take record players apart and all sorts, so I respect electricity. And so should you. So if you're really not comfortable at all, then please don't do any of this. Go and get the wiring done by a registered electrician or someone who knows what they're doing. Okay, I mean, out of the 3 subscribers I've got on YouTube, I don't want you to electrocute yourselves, do you? Now, come on. What's that you say? What's an RCD? It's a residual current device. That's one of these. Look, isn't it nice? All shiny and plastic. These are critical to protect you from getting electrocuted, be it at home or on a campsite in this case. So you've got RCDs, residual current devices, and then you've got MCBs, miniature circuit breakers. Yeah, no idea how many of these videos I've had to film before I got those 2 terms right. Right now, so these live inside this box. Not this. This is just the base that I've made for the leisure battery in the back of the van over the wheel arch, and we'll talk about that another time. But I've attached this case, which is effectively called a consumer unit, which I showed you earlier. That's the front, and this is where the MCB and the RCD live. Now they clip in, if you can see there, I'm not sure you can see, they clip into this rail there, and that's how you mount them side by side. When you're at home, your home consumer unit will have lots of, it'll be a lot bigger than this, and they'll have a lot of these all in a line, and they're all for different kind of circuits. So you'll have some for lights, you'll have some for your main sockets, you'll have bigger powered ones for things like immersion heaters, that kind of thing. So that's MCBs, and we'll talk about those in a minute. Right, so what does this thing do? An RCD, residual current device. Well, it detects the difference between the live and the neutral wire, and if it detects there's a large difference, usually if you've gone and touched something and you're about to electrocute yourself, it'll sense that there's something changed, and within milliseconds, nanoseconds, whatever it is, it will switch this current off, switch the circuit. So normally you have a wire goes in here, goes through the circuit, comes out the other end, and then goes out and feeds into one of these, or a couple of these, and then they're connected into wherever you've set up in your van. So a set of main sockets that you can plug something in, I don't know, like a hairdryer or an air fryer or whatever it is that you want to do. So these are very critical, and these are really to protect you as a person, to make sure you don't get electrocuted. MCBs, on the other hand, are these things, and once again they clip onto that rail the same way, and you can get different ones, different ratings. So this is slightly different. So my wiring diagram I'll show you later in the video, but just to try and give you an idea, you have the feed, the socket, the commando socket that I fitted on the back of the van. We'll have the cable running from that into this first, and then from this it's going to go into this, come out the other one, the other end, and then connect to the main socket that I'm going to fit to the side of the van, and then I can plug a normal UK main socket into that. So this protects you as a human being from getting electrocuted, because it's a very sensitive device, while the MCB, the miniature circuit breaker, protects the thing, the item, whatever, from overheating or blowing up or whatever. Effectively, these are glorified fuses, fuses that never blow, fuses that can be reset. So if you can see, I don't know if you can on that, there's a switch there, and if I polish it up, there's a little red marker there, which means it's live, it's on. And this is the normal position where you've plugged in your connection into the mains on a campsite or whatever, and this is switched on. Therefore you've got power in your wall socket that you've got fitted in the back of the van. So that's great. If, for example, you bring something that's normally a bit more higher powered than what this is designed to take, it will trip this and switch it off, and there's a little relay inside here, a little solenoid or whatever it is,
and some other circuitry, and it will detect that the power, the load on this is greater than what this is designed to take, or within the boundaries that this has been designed to switch, and it'll turn that switch off. And then now you can see that's, I should see that's green, a little bit there, and so this is switched off, so it's safe to go and check out whatever it is that's caused the problem. So that's RCDs and a bonus ball. I even chucked in an MCB for you there. There you go. You didn't know. You just get all this free on this channel.
It's consumer unit time, bit like hammer time but without the dodgy trousers. Younger viewers might have to Google that one. So this is the unit that I've attached originally using riv nuts to the underside of this, which I'm going to use for the leisure battery later on in the van. I've removed it from there just so it's easier to wire up. It's always easier to wire up actually on a bench in the house rather than trying to be contortionist lying underneath it inside a van trying to figure out where all the wires go. So I've removed that, and if you recall, this is the RCD. This is the first thing everyone connects to, so you're going to have the feed, the wire coming in from the socket on the van, which is obviously on the van, and I'm going to have to connect that in here when I take this to the van, but in the meantime I can do the rest of the wiring. So this has got like a little plastic clip there that you use to push on that. I'm not going to put it on yet because I'm going to wire everything in first and then clip it into position, just because it's easier to hold it like this and screw it in. So I'll do that at the end. Anyway, I've cut two holes, one on this side and one on this side, and fitted the grommets that came with it. So this is the feed in that's going to go into this, come out, go through these and then out this way to the main sockets. Now I'm going to have two, one on each side of the van because it's a twin slider van, and I just thought it's handy to have them mould there. It doesn't really do that much more work to add two rather than just the one. So I've already measured how long I'm going to need, the cable I'm going to need for the one on the off side, which is the same side as the panel where this is going. And it's not too long because it's not really that far apart. I've labelled it OS for offside, so I know this in the future. And I've already measured and cut out the insulation and fitted these end connectors again, little crimp connectors as I did earlier on in the video. So that's all done. This side's done as well. This is the side that's going to go to the main socket. So I've already popped the hole out there. I'm going to put a grommet in there. There's going to be a tiny hole in the back of the panel. This is going to go through there and then connect to the underside of this. And that will be your main socket. So, what do we need to do? Right, so in a similar vein to this, where this clips in, but it's actually easier to wire everything in with it not being clipped in, you also get this, which is a bar at the top. This is for neutral connect. It's like a junction. Neutral wires on this side and earth wires on this side. If you look at my wiring diagram, and it's just a way of just combining them all together. So again, this just clips in, just like plastic clip, and we'll do that with this out, because once I do all the wiring, then I'm going to refit the bolts to the mount. Then I'm going to clip all of this on top, and in theory it should all just go very easily. He says famous last words, but this is YouTube. Right, so these are the bolts, the two bolts that I use for connecting this to the riv nuts on this. And this is metal, that's metal, and this is getting bolted to the bodywork as well. So that's earthed. And I thought, well, I'll use that. So I got myself a little ring connector. I crimped an earth cable to it, popped it through this bolt, and then when I tighten this up, it will be an earth connection, which will also be connected to this. So, actually, as I'm here, I might as well do it now. No point in talking about it and not doing it, is there? So just loosen that. I'll try to loosen that. Why do I always get the wrong screwdriver for these things? And the one I want I can never find. That's just going to go in there. And just tighten that up. Tighten these up again properly once they're actually fitted, but for now that'll do. And then that's just going to, when that's in place, that's just going to go there and onto the bolt. So we've already done some of it, so that's good, isn't it? The next thing is, according to my diagram, you're going to need a neutral wire, a blue wire. So the neutral wire is going to go from the neutral side. I don't know if you can see that on camera where it says N for neutral, which is handy. That's loose. So I've made this wire up. I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to tighten this up. And can you see that's pulling that up and locking it into position? So I'm just going to really make sure that's on nice and tight. Yeah, good. And then when that clips in there, this one is going to go here because this is going to be the neutral termination point. So which one should I choose? I'll choose the one in the middle rather than at the end. So if you look at the diagram again, that's going to go like that, that's going to be there. The neutral feed from the van will come in here and into that one. The live will go into there, and then the live will come out of here and connect to these two. Now, so I've already made like a double wire, which is live for the live. I just crimped those two together into one. I mean, you can have them separate if you want, whichever is easiest. You can actually buy what's known as a bus bar. So that's not a pub for bus drivers, that's like a copper connector. So when you have a lot of these together, it's a certain distance and they connect up rather than this. As you can see, this is slightly cheap. It already broke on me that. I had to glue all that with a bit of epoxy to get it to go back in. I'm going to use the 16 amp one as the one for connecting everything main socket to. And the other one I'm just going to keep spare, but I'm going to wire it in anyway, so at least it's already done. So one thing at a time. Even better if I use the right cable. Maybe I should clip these in, shouldn't I? Put that in there. Tighten that up. I'll tighten these again properly once this is all fitted. Have I done the right one there? I think so. Yeah. And then tighten this one as well. Show the cables in. Right, so live comes through there, into that one, into that one. The feed from here will go to the van, to the sockets or whatever you're connecting it to. This is protecting you, and these two protecting the devices and the sockets at the other end. That cable's going to go like that. Now the other thing then is, again, before I fit all this, I'm going to fit the mains cable that I've already pre-measured. That's going to go to the main socket on this side of the van. Pop that through. Just thinking whether I can put everything in or not. Maybe not. Right, so earth goes to, we'll do earth at the end. Neutral goes to neutral, so I'm going to loosen one of these. That's neutral. Then this is going to go into this one because this is live. There we go. And then finally, earth to earth. Getting a bit of a messy now. It's still easier than doing it in a van. Right, these just clip off incidentally. Right on cue. That is the first bit. I know it doesn't look a bit iffy, but anyway. Right. So let's get this bolted back into here. And then I can put everything together and it'll be a bit easier then to work on. So if we can. Okay, we're nearly done. I'm going to move that earth wire around this way. I'm just going to tighten this last bit. Now I can put this back on, clip this into position. Put that in the 16 amp. Okay, finally fitted this into the back of the van, the rear quarter, just above the rear wheel arch on the offside. So this is the platform, if you like, that I'm making. That I'm going to put my leisure battery on there and get to work on that. But all I've done is there's already an M6 bolt in the wheel arch there from the factory, so I just used that 6mm captive nut, sorry, in the wheel arch. I've drilled a hole here and fitted a riv nut. I know I said I wouldn't be drilling holes, but sometimes. And because I made this flap that came down that you can sit down, these bolts are just at the right place. There's a hole there, and I've just put a wing nut on there. So if ever I need to remove this platform, this will come out and I can leave this in place. Now this is pretty solid. I might put another thing there, but anyway, that's for the solar video. Right, let's get back to this. So I've wired everything in. I've got the feed coming in. I've got the other one going out to be where the main socket's going to go. One of these. And that's going to go over there, and I'm probably going to fit it about here into the panel. But this is done. And ultimately it's going to look like this, so that's good, isn't it? The other thing I don't like about these is you push it down. It's a bit of a rubbish design and it only opens that far. So but anyway, it's out of the way. Get that done, and then I can get on to the next bit. Okay, so this is the panel at the side of the van. I've drilled a little hole there. This is where the mains cable is going to go through into this socket. I've kind of roughly moved it away, just obviously away from the pressings at the side of the bodywork, and kind of in line with the vent holes there, nothing too clever. Because this is only hardboard, I'm going to put this behind, and I'm going to put a couple of screws in there just to make sure this is nice and steady. That's the plan anyway. Right, so I've fitted this to the panel, and I've fitted the panel temporarily to the side of the van. I'm going to be taking it out again
when I'm doing the solar installations. There's no point spending 4 hours putting these 600 clips back in. Right, so I've got the cable running through here. I already did the connectors earlier on, as I mentioned in the video, and I'm just going to connect them up to here. So neutral, live and earth. They are marked there. I don't know if you can see that on camera, it's very difficult. But anyway, so blue is neutral, so that's this one. I'll pop that in there and tighten that up. Yellow and green is earth, so I'll pop that in there and tighten that up. And finally live, which is brown. Pop that in that one. Make sure they're all tight. And then I can push that back a little bit, a bit of slack. And then we can attach the screws. This particular one has got a clip-on cover which I completely forgot about. So that just clips off. Then you put it into, you screw it into there as you would a normal socket, and you clip it back on. It's hard to stop filming because whatever screws I fitted into there, they just didn't want to go in. And what's going on? And I was going to say, oh, they're just some cheap rubbish that's probably made in China, like some other stuff's pretty rubbish sometimes. No! You can see on camera, made in UK it says. So I just spent 20 minutes in the garage trying to find some suitable screws. I thought these were supposed to be standard screws. Anyway, let's get back onto it. Right, finally managed to fit the socket. I've hooked it up outside. I've got a 16 amp connector in the garage for the lift, so that's handy. So I've connected the cable up. I'm just going to plug this in just as a test to see if this works. And I've got that to try, so I'll switch it on. Ooh! The lights come on. And that's charging. I'm not sure you can see the red light there. Yay! Right, turn that off. It really is plasticky, this plug. Maybe I should have got a slightly better quality one. Anyway, right, there's a USB port there. Doing anything? No. Oh, you have to switch that on for that to work. Okay, and that's charging as well. So yay, we have electricity in the van. Fantastic. Right, so that's the end of that project. I'm going to start on the solar installation when the weather improves. Hopefully a video for you to watch as well. Anyway, bye for now. Hope that was useful.